Bahle Mashaya, and it is the 10th of June. So right now we will be taking a look at the COVID-19 status update. South Africa as a whole confirmed cases of the coronavirus is 52,991. Recoveries, we are currently standing at 29,006. And lastly, deaths, we are standing at 1,162. Moving on to the provincial update.
Of course, and I am Lindo Koza. Provincially, Western Cape is sitting at 34,819 cases. Gauteng with 6,546. Eastern Cape with 6,760 cases. KwaZulu-Natal with 3,255. Limpopo 253. Northwest with 604 cases. Mpumalanga 184. Northern Cape with 122 cases. 57 cases are unknown, and the total number of tests that are conducted are 968,070.
Yes, be sure to continue to adhere to the rules and regulations of the COVID-19 measures.
It's your social distancing and wearing your mask that are very much compulsory. Remember, if you see any symptoms that are related to COVID-19, that is a cough, a sore throat, a high fever, you should continue, or rather you should contact the COVID-19 helpline, and they'll tell you what you need to do.
Yes, now do stay tuned for more news updates right after the break.
Thank you so much for tuning in to your news on the top stories nationally. Protests held across Australia over the weekend following the death of US man George Floyd have renewed a national push to take down statues considered offensive to Indigenous Australians. There have been widespread calls on social media for the removal of monuments to colonizers, explorers, and colonial administrators. The push to remove the monument comes after Black Lives Matter protesters in the UK tipped a statue of the 17th century slave trader Edward Colston into Bristol Harbour at the weekend, while a statue of slave trader Robert Milligan was removed in London on Tuesday. South African Black Lives Matter protesters also joined in, supported by the economic freedom fighters, removing the statue of Paul Kruger at the Church Square in Pretoria.
Which represents an oppressive colonial past and what they call decolonialization of history. 5 years later, the death of George Floyd has sparked renewed calls for colonial monuments to be collapsed.
This time it's different. This time statues are being removed in the United Kingdom of slave owners. MPs have joined the call for roads to fall. Oxford councillors have joined the call for roads to fall in Oxford. 18,000 people have now signed the petition for roads to fall. And so that small ripple has now turned 5 years later into a wave. And I think that's something that should make South Africans proud.
The EFF, which had once claimed responsibility for defacing a statue of Paul Kruger in Church Square, Pretoria, have once again placed emphasis on the need to remove monuments and symbols of oppression.
We know that all these colonial settlers are not our heroes. But go in all parts of South Africa, you will find symbols of colonial invasion and oppression, of the callous murder of black people. In Parliament, when you enter there, there's a huge statue of Paul Kruger.
A plea from residents and business for intervention into the lack of services in Bethal and Mzinoni might have finally been heard. However, this was required the entire community to come together and to take back a once proud town from the claws of Governor Mbeki municipality. A committee comprising of residents and local businesses from people both in Mzinoni, Bethal and Milan Park has been formed and will now be known as the Bethal and Mzinoni Community Service Association. This association has already begun the process of taking legal action against the GMM. This comes after residents have been fighting endless battles about no electricity, no water, poor road conditions, sewage problems and lack of general paid service delivery.
Next up, 6 men were fatally gunned down at the Jabulani Hostel in Soweto. A 7th victim is recovering in hospital. Police are searching for 3 gunmen believed to be involved.
Give much of what we think we need to follow. There are directions that we are following, but it will be proper to end there for now.
All right, thank you, Minister. Let's open up the floor to some questions. All right, Malu.
Minister Malungelo, away from NEWSHORN Africa, one of the things that you said was that these, the incidents like this, especially in hostels, have been a thing of the past, and I think you appear to have been taken aback by what happened here. Do you perhaps think that what we're seeing here could actually, we could see a revenge also? Because one of the local residents that I was talking to said to me that his biggest fear was revenge, and also what could be the motive? And previously in incidents like this, what was the motive? What would be the motive? Thank you.
Well, there would be hostels, Malungelo, that would be troublesome, especially in KZN. That would be your Cliplands, as everybody knows. Guamashu, Section A. This hostel has not been troublesome for a long time.
Transformer catches fire in Bethala. The transformer exploded and caught alight in Tibiti Sibanyoni streets near Life School, HM Swart, at about 11 p.m. last night. According to residents, an electrical team worked on the transformer earlier in the day. This was confirmed by Ms. Mariana Chamberlain. DA Councillor, according to Ms. Chamberlain, the extent of the damage is not yet known. She said if something could be saved, a temporary transformer could be connected. However, she has a doubt about this due to the extent of the fire. She said a meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. yesterday morning.
And the South African Union of Students has welcomed the decision to reopen universities with 33% of student capacity. All students and members of the staff will be screened for COVID-19 before entering campuses.
As a union, we're satisfied that a group of students will be allowed to come back to campus because there are necessary equipment that's required by certain degrees. I think particularly we're happy that in the policy or the regulations rather that the department has given to institutions is that students who are from poor backgrounds who at home can't study under those conditions on online learning will also be allowed to come back as part of the third of students allowed to come back to campus.
On other local news, teacher tests positive for COVID-19. The deputy principal of Ladder School, Orange Cloud Primary School, Ms. Anandi Strauss, confirmed that one of their teachers tested positive for COVID-19. She said the teacher did not show any symptoms and did not feel ill at all. The teacher was supposed to go for an operation, and as a precaution, the hospital required that the teacher go for a COVID-19 test. Ms. Strauss assured the community that everything is under control. The teacher, as well as a few other teachers that were in close contact, will be in isolation.
Structural engineers are probing the cause of a partial collapse of a Turbine building. A worker was crushed to death and 7 others were injured. Witnesses described how a concrete slab fell with little warning, crushing everything below it. The tragedy may have been a lot worse had it not been for search and the rescue teams that arrived in just 7 minutes. Maintenance work had been underway at the time of the incident.
Witnesses have described how this concrete slab fell with little warning, crushing everything below it. Yende Syed was directly in its path, and he succumbed to his injuries. He'd been working at a store in the building after moving to Durban from Malawi.
He's never got a shoulder, but his wife, she got pregnant.
She's pregnant?
Yes.
How many months, do you know?
4 months.
4 months pregnant? No, I'm really sorry to hear that.
7 others were rushed to hospital. tragedy may have been a lot worse had it not been for search and rescue teams that arrived in just 7 minutes.
We had to use forcible entry tools to break through the wall.
More on your international news. Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza, aged 55, has died from a heart attack. The government says he was admitted to hospital on Saturday after feeling ill. His condition improved on Monday, but he had a heart attack and efforts to revive him were unsuccessful. Officials say that after 15 years in power, Mr. Nkurunziza was due to step down in August. Since last week, Mr. Nkurunziza's wife, Denise Nkurunziza, has been receiving medical treatment in Kenya. It is alleged that she tested positive for the coronavirus, a disease Mr. Nkurunziza had appeared to downplay.
Pierre Nkurunziza came to power with a pledge to heal a divided Burundi. But his time in office was tainted by a crackdown on his political opponents. The former rebel leader became president in 2005 as part of a peace deal that ended a years-long civil war.
I swear to ban all ideologies of ethnic division and genocide. I swear to work for the development of all Burundi.
Nkurunziza won a second term in an uncontested election in 2010, but rights groups and opposition parties accused him of restricting political freedom. 5 years later, breaking constitutional norms and despite global condemnation, he announced his intention to stand for a third term.
What is happening now is the fault of the people who are not on our side. But it is going to make us stronger than ever. Whatever happens will be their fault, not ours.
The move sparked mass protests and violence. At least 1,200 people were killed and 400,000 fled the country. In the run-up to those elections, there was an attempted coup while the president was on a visit to Tanzania. Nkurunziza imposed a further crackdown on his political opponents. The UN and human rights groups accused his security forces of torture, beatings, sexual violence and murder. Despite it all, he won his third presidential term in July 2015. But the violence continued, as did his standoff with the international community. Burundi became the first country to terminate its membership of the International Criminal Court after it started investigating allegations of abuse. In 2018, Nkurunziza held a referendum to extend presidential terms from 5 to a 7-year mandate.
You should listen to those who tell you to vote yes. If there are those who tell you no, then listen to them as well. Only you know what's in your heart.
And last month, Burundi held its first competitive presidential election despite the coronavirus pandemic. But again, it was marred by allegations of fraud and harassment. Most international observers were banned. After 15 years in power, Nkurunziza was due to step down in August, taking pride in the fact that his government, despite its troubles, brought peace to Burundi.
And now on your international top story, at least 59 people have been killed in a suspected jihadist attack in northeastern Nigeria. Gunmen entered a remote village in the Gabios district of Borno State on Tuesday afternoon, killing dozens. The village was also raised in what is believed to have been a reprisal attack, according to local reports. While it is unclear who carried out the attack, both jihadist group Boko Haram and an offshoot which fights under the banner of the Islamic State group have carried out deadly attacks in the northeast of Nigeria. It's said that 59 bodies had been recovered, while another publication reported that 69 people were killed.
That's it with me, Bakimasha.
This hour, I am Lindo Koza.